what's the one thing couples do daily that slowly kills their connection without maybe even realizing it?
I think that couples, they forget that the other one cannot read their mind.
No.
Um, and that's honestly, that is the biggest piece of advice that I give when someone says, all right, what's one piece of advice you're going to give me? He can't read your mind. She can't read your mind. And of course, communication, you've got to communicate. And I think we get kind of stagnant over time and in our relationship and with anybody really. And we just forget that, oh, I actually have to talk to this person. Like we've been with them for so long, you forget they can't read your mind. You need to talk, and you need to talk effectively.
Right. And there's different styles of communication. And obviously, I mean, there's men are for Mars, women are for Venus, whatever. Um, I get that, but there's there's still a communication style that has to be met. If it's totally different, I'm not sure why they're together or how they got together, but I think you need to take in their perspective and somehow got to meet in the middle somehow to
Hmm.
communicate, or else there is no communication happening, right?
Exactly. And I actually, so when I coach on what I call the 5 C's. So it's connection with yourself, communication, comprehension, because you can talk all you want, but if you're not comprehending what each other is saying, you can talk to your blue in the face, it's not going to matter. Compromise, as long as you're not compromising yourself or your integrity or your values, and then connection with each other. So it comes back full circle.
Yeah. I love that comprehension part because we, I've not just recently, but for the past year or so, I've had Amy Grant is one of my favorite singers, and she has a song called What You Heard. And it profoundly affects me because it's actually I looked into it and it's her to her daughter, but it could be anyone, a significant other or anything. And basically the song says, I was telling you I love you, and trying to make it up with words. So she was saying the same words, but it wasn't landing, it wasn't comprehending. So the words that she thought were so powerful kind of went against her because that's not what her child was hearing. And no matter how much we buckle down and say them louder, it's not going to get through. So we have to find a different way because it doesn't, if we keep saying the same thing over and over, we become a nag. And that's not what we're trying to do. So sometimes you got to get a little creative, right?
Absolutely. You've heard of the 5 love languages. Well, I believe there are communication languages as well. Everybody communicates differently and everybody hears things differently. It's not always, the way you understand something is going to be different than the way I understand it. Um, but the bottom line is to talk with each other. So in that song, for instance, if she's saying all these things to her daughter's hearing it differently. It's up to the daughter to say, hey, mom, what did you mean by that? Like, what were what was the point, the purpose behind it? There's actually another song that I like to reference, and the actual name escapes me, but it's something to the effect of, well, you ought to know this by now.
All right, okay.
And it's a country song, and it's, you ought to know this by now. It's like, we've been together so long, like, you ought to know this by now. Well, how am I supposed to know, that you didn't change your mind from last week to this week if you don't tell me?
True. Well, and then when you say the person receiving it has to ask,
Mhm.
you and I both know that rarely happens. And the person receiving it, they may not even know that it's not landing, or again, you get labeled as a nag, and it's like, I need you to listen. I need to be seen and heard so we can communicate more effectively. But if you're with somebody, it doesn't have to be a romantic partner. It could be anybody. But, for this purposes, if we use that, maybe they're not ready to dive into their own stuff to even know that, hey, there's an issue.
Well, and that kind of comes back to the connection with self. So that's the very first C. If you are not grounded in yourself, if you do not have self-love, self-care, self-worth, if you don't know what you want for yourself, how can you expect anybody else to know? Um, again, you can't read your mind. Um, and when you do get that pushback, so, like I said, it would be up to the daughter to ask, hey, mom, what did this mean? If you're getting that pushback from the daughter, from the spouse, from whoever, and you're not understanding their response, but they're not coming to you and saying, hey, what did you mean? Then you need to go to them and say, something to the effect of, okay, well, I said these things and this is the response I got from you. I would like to talk about that. Can we carve out some time? I'm all about spontaneous planning. So,
I love that.
so yeah, put it on your calendar. But like pencil it in, like block out some time, and then when that time comes around and both of you are available, pop in there, and have that talk. But you both have to be ready, obviously. So,
Exactly.
but yeah, I just say have that talk, get clear the air, get those questions out of the way. Those, even if it's uncomfortable, if it's somebody you love and loves you, then it's going to be okay. Like you're going to be able to talk about it.